You're listening to the What's the Fuzz podcast, where we break you out of your vacuum seal and get down to what's real. Never miss another episode again. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And now, your host, Reiner.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show, new listeners, old listeners, and accidental clickers. Please don't click. It's July 19th, 2020, and I've almost lost my entire conception of time. No joke. Before we get into the interview today, I'll start off with the preamble. Black lives still matter, and the protests have not stopped. Though we may not all be able to go out there on the streets right now, you can still do your part in your communities. Case in point, a continuous flow of racists have been outed in the furry community. Whether it's the person apologizing or the furries in the comments going, "I forgive you, it's okay," we need to work together to kick that shit out, burn it, and extinguish it. In some cases, I truly believe that we can change someone's mind about these things. Like young people, around 16 or whatever, that don't understand systemic racism or what we're doing to people at the borders, etc. That's why when you're seeing furries out there on some goofy shit, you call them out on it. Send them some What's the Fuzz, preferably the first episode. And one last thing. Here's how to tell if they're sincere. If they're explaining why they did the thing, and they only realized what they did is wrong because of the call-out, and they used verbiage like, "I'm listening to BIPOC voices, I'm learning," whatever it is. And it's more about them than the apology itself to the people that they hurt. And they're not taking action, and they choose to retain negative peace rather than taking the turning point to be vehemently anti-racist. Tell them to walk that shit back. Tell them to try again and do some research and spend some real time reflecting on how they're part of the problem, on what they can do to change it. Anyway, tonight I'm joined by Gozi.
Hey, how's it going? Pleasure to be here.
Hey, it's nice to meet you, man. I've been following you for a bit now. You've been doing some cool stuff out there.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot over the last 2-ish months. But I appreciate it. Everything's been going well. I've been certainly having a time. I don't know if it's been a good time, but it's been a time.
Hey, I feel you there, man. If you guys aren't familiar with Gozi, he's a graphic designer, and you can hit him up on Redbubble under Gozi Goods. That's GOZIGOODS. And you can follow him on Twitter at LightSkinTiger. He calls people out for saying whack-ass shit all the time, releases updates on his art, and does other cool stuff. Seriously, check him out. To start the interview off today, I wanted to start you off with an icebreaker question. Is that okay?
Yep, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Alright, gotcha. So, would you rather deal with someone who is dangerously ignorant or dangerously apathetic?
I'd honestly probably rather deal with someone who's dangerously ignorant.
What is that?
I don't know. I guess I know how to deal with somebody who is way more outwardly doing these bad things. Even if they can't see how how wrong it is, I could see them for it, and I can know to either not interact with them at all if I have the option to, or if I don't have the option to and I have to work with them in like a work or a school type setting, I can adjust myself. I can't tell if somebody is just apathetic a lot of times, but I can tell if somebody's ignorant. And just for my sake, I would rather know if somebody's ignorant and work with that than not know if somebody's just completely apathetic.
I gotcha. So it's better to have like a warning sign so you don't have to deal with their mess if you don't
Yes,
want to.
yes, exactly.
So yeah, apathetic person, they know what's going on, they just don't care. So it's like wasting your time either way.
Hmm.
Exactly. Awesome, awesome. Now we get on to the meat of the interview. So on being a furry, what got you invested in the furry fandom in the first place? Do you feel like it's a big part of who you are?
I I don't know if it's a big part of who I am. I could say I mean I'd certainly say that it is a part of who I am, but I don't know if it's necessarily a huge part. So in terms of like how I actually got into the fandom,
Mhm.
so I just said I'm a graphic designer, and I work a lot with logos and photo manipulations on things like Photoshop. So I'll look up certain things. I'll look up certain animals in which I'm trying to recreate something, and occasionally you will see somebody's post on Fur Affinity, or a picture of somebody's persona. You look up something, if you look up something like golden tiger, you're gonna find you're gonna find something if you scroll down far enough.
Oh yeah, so it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like it essentially over time. I became more and more inundated. Like I saw this stuff. I've been a graphic designer for kind of ever since I was a teen. So and before that, I was still pretty internet savvy. So you spend enough time on the internet, you're gonna eventually see it. So I grew up. I still knew about it. Kind of got into college, and then I kind of sat and thought about it. Like I saw it more and more, and I was like, you know what, let me give it a shot. And hey, it's worked out decent enough, decently enough for me. There's obviously been some downsides, but hey, I've met some really cool people, people that have really made me rethink and reshape who I am and what I stand for. So that's kind of something that's really benefited me since I've been in the fandom. But yeah, no, I've really only been active for about a year and a half at this rate, which is kind of wild.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I've met some really, really good people and had some really good experiences.
That's crazy because you've only been at this for like a year and a half and you're already tearing shit up.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, the thing is that obviously I didn't come from. Well, I'm not gonna say come from, but I don't have a what seemingly a traditionally furry background. So like my thoughts are going to be way different than what might be some of the other thoughts, or some of the pervading thoughts from the internet. Oh, not the internet, but in general, furry culture. So, like I said, instead of I'm not terribly one to try to. I'm not gonna say conform, but like when I enter a space, like I want to make sure that it's a space that is good for me, and like I can say the stuff and I can do the stuff that I feel as though is right. So if you want to say me coming in there and just
Mm.
starting tearing stuff up, sure, sure, you could say that. But yeah, I mean, I just have a different mindset and different view than a lot of people who've traditionally been in the fandom. And the good thing is that I know that there's people who do agree with me, and there's only going to be more coming in.
So when you say furry culture and your ideals, what ideals do you hold that are in opposition to those held by the greater amount of the furry fandom?
It's not. There's really not a ton of difference. Like obviously, I stand for you know people being whoever they want to be. Issues of equality. Obviously lockstep with that. But I guess it's kind of just the aspect of furry culture that I do kind of feel it. I think I don't really like is something that I've kind of learned about this is this thing called toxic positivity. I'm a naturally
Mm.
positive person. Like I like to see the good in everything. I like to be the guy that the motivation guy, the guy's like, yeah, let's do this. But I've seen positivity be used in a way in the fandom in which it's used to hide and like shelter things that really shouldn't be sheltered. Things like racism. And, you've seen a lot of stuff that's been happening, in which you know people will try to call these things out, but then they get shut down because there's a group of people. Well, I'm not gonna say a group of people, but there are people that will go out of their way and say, hey, like, why are you talking about this? I thought we were all one big happy family. Uh, and the thing about that is that we don't bring these things up and say, hey, we have to change this because we don't like where we're at. If we didn't like where we were at, we would just leave. The reason why we do these things is because we genuinely care. Like, we genuinely care. We genuinely want to make this place better for everyone. Now, we do feel as though it's good, but obviously, as people like myself and a ton of other people have demonstrated over the last few weeks, it's oftentimes it's not the case for BIPOC, and it's something that obviously we want to see changed. And so that's kind of something about the fandom that I don't really like. But obviously, it's something that can be changed. There's somewhere that's been a safe space for people who are out of the stereotypical norm of greater society, and that's something that's been fantastic. But we would want those same ideals of you know equality and respect given across the entire multitude of the fandom, because there's a ton of us out there, and I don't think people really realize that there's a ton of us out there, and there's a ton of obviously a ton of support that I've seen behind it, and that's something that I've really enjoyed. I know I've kind of gone a little bit all the way around the question like twice, but uh, yeah, that's something that I feel as though is my biggest gripe with the fandom right now. Just the aspect of the toxic, in seemingly in nature positivity that a lot of people can show.
No, it's all good. I completely understand what you mean. Like with some of these things that come out, like I've only gotten tapped into the mainstream of like the all the furries that know each other, the network,
Hmm.
I guess, of furries. Uh and these furries with like thousands of followers and stuff get outed for this terrible shit that they otherwise would not have taken accountability for. Well, I mean, you want to call what their apologies
Yeah,
accountability. I mean, anyway, anyway, the point is that they have these legions of fans in the comments simping for them. Ooh, ooh, it's
yeah,
okay. Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. We don't mind. We still love
yeah,
you.
yeah. No, like what you said.
It is
Like
ridiculous.
that. That's the kind of stuff that like exactly like you said in the beginning. That's the toxic positivity that I'm talking about. It like kind of a lot of stuff that happened this week. I'm not gonna name names, but if you know, you know. Uh, uh, for somebody to come out and do these things and then have you know a ton of people saying that we forgive you, we do all this and do all that, but none of the things that the person did was directed towards them or their group.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. And also a side thing that I also kind of really don't like is that we tend to not have the focus on the right thing. Like there's not a lot of outrage on stuff that needs a lot of outrage, and then way too much on stuff that uh is really kind of insignificant. Like I'm not talking about like obviously when somebody comes out with issues of sexual abuse, racism, all kind of stuff like that, that should be the main focus. But if somebody has like I I kind of hate to use this, but like the stolen plushie issue,
I was thinking the
the,
same
the stolen plushie
thing.
issue
What the
from
fuck?
BLFC last year, like
Yeah.
everybody was talking about that, and it's just stuff like that that I kind of see and don't really like.
Holy shit. It's like you read my mind. How did you do that?
Telepathy, stuff like that.
Jesus Christ. That whole time I was just like, that fucking plushie. That goddamn plushie that everyone lost their shit over. Fucking writing footlongers about how strenuously they looked all over that goddamn con floor looking for that stupid fucking plushie. Meanwhile, they want to simp for racists on Twitter like, that's okay. I see where your priorities all. Okay, cool. Thank you. And then the toxic positivity like drips into other things like tone policing.
Yes.
People telling freaking Vatica that she sounds angry, telling Wolf that he sounds angry.
Yeah.
Whenever they just are trying to speak their mind. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I've known that for kind of essentially ever since I've gotten into the fandom. And they are, I'll say it's like, they're one of the most passionate, just raw people, and like raw in the best way. They when they care about something, they care, and they have genuine care and genuine interest and want that thing's best interest at heart. And to see people, not only doing the stereotypical, hey, like, why are you being so angry about this? I can't listen to this if you're so angry about this thing. And then
right.
not only that, but then also like using that anger to, misgender, mislabel. Like, like it's not that hard. It's really not that hard to, and that's kind of the thing that I do feel as though does tend to bleed over into a bit of the when I'm talking about some of the toxic nature, how misgendering is a very, it's a no-no, obviously. it's a no-no in life, but the same people who will say these things and, advocate for these types of ideals, they will also ignore some of the same things when it's in regards to racial issues. So like the things with Wolf, I don't really know Wolf that well, but we've become pretty good acquaintances over the last little stretch of time. But I haven't met him yet. But like and these things happen with a lot of the other by POC who've spoken up over the last time. Mandy, my girlfriend, she's gotten a few things about people saying how angry she is, and like how
wow.
And I mean, like, Mandy's the sweetest person I've ever known. Like come on, like she doesn't really, like, that's not her. And like for you to even insinuate that, like for you to conflate passion and equate that to anger when a black person does it, but if a white person does the exact same thing, you're going to be all up in arms. Like you're going to be lockstep with them. You're going to be agree with them. You're like, oh, they're so passionate. It that's one of the double standard things that is I'm really I'm really seeing.
Yeah, I'm pretty freaking tired of seeing that shit. Literally anytime anyone wants to explain anything and they're not white, it's suddenly a super angry rant.
Yeah.
And going back to the accountability thing, I just keep thinking about when Nas got outed for being a fucking asshole or whatever, and they immediately like disown him and swapped him, whatever. But these other convention staff, they can't seem to get around their head that they can do the same thing.
Yeah.
That they don't need to preserve this negative piece where, the racists aren't doing anything wrong right now.
Yeah. Like
okay.
It's really not that hard. And the thing about like me and Nas were, he was essentially somebody who I looked up to, in the fandom. Like I see this black guy doing stuff, I'm like, hell yeah. But he obviously did very deplorable things, and like even though it hurt for me to know that he did those things, it was not hard for me to completely cut him off. Like call him out, cut him off, and
Yep.
like exile him. So I don't know why it's so hard for other people to do so.
We don't need to band together with racists. We need
We
to kick them
we
out.
really don't.
Have them.
We really don't need to ban with racists and bigots because they might have a cute suit or make videos online or make art. We really don't need to do those things.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of people that do those things that aren't terrible
Yeah.
people. Priorities
Yeah.
again. All right. And was there anything you wanted to add before we went on to the next question?
I mean, no, I've kind of said my piece.
Got you. Do you feel as though there's a shortage of black role models or influencers in the furry fandom?
This might be a bit of a shock. I will say no.
Hmm.
I've met a ton of just incredibly dope people who I feel as though deserve a much larger platform than they have, but it's just that the audience isn't there. That's my issue. Like there's a ton of black people, Latinx people, Native American people, Asian people. Like there's a ton of people out here that are doing these things, and they're doing these things so well, but like the audience just isn't there because one reason or another. Sometimes it might be, oh, they don't have a fursuit. All right, it's like, oh, they don't do this. All right, they don't do that. Okay, uh, that's one of those, it moving the goalposts. Things kind of happen a lot, but no, there's a ton of, just dope people out there, and like I can go on and list a few, but it's I'm not gonna say that there's a lack of role models because the people are out there. The people are very much out there. And it's just, are the people, willing to listen and willing to, support. That's really the thing.
Hmm. So you mentioned the goalposts thing, and I think someone else mentioned it before. Maybe it was Wolf, but they mentioned how no matter what they did, it was never good
Oh,
enough
absolutely.
for furries to recognize
Yeah.
them. What's up with that?
I I mean, I don't want to explicitly call this racism, but it is a bit of, it is a bit of the whole like apathetic thing because, if let's say, a few of the big YouTube furries did something like that charity stream,
Hmm.
they would be inundated with praise, inundated with all this. That'd be the only thing we'd see. Like that'd be the only thing we'd see on Twitter. But because they aren't part of part of this group, the gifted and uplifted, quote unquote, so to say, crowd. Like a lot of times what people like who the people who did the stream and people like that, people like us will kind of just get pushed aside, and like I said, like there'll always be a reason as to why these things aren't like why they don't get the same thing. Like, oh, like I said, like, oh, they don't have a suit. Oh, I don't like how you do this. Like, I don't like how you say this. It's kind of a bit of pseudo racism in a way in
Hmm.
my mind. That's kind of how I feel uh, regarding kind of issues such as that.
It's like they're always trying to find
Yep,
something, some reason.
always trying to find something.
Oh, that's freaking stupid. Well, if you want, you can shout some folks out if you want.
Yeah. I mean, I've already talked about Mandy Wolf, that Solar Dog. Soul is probably one of the most creative people I've ever known, and like that's going beyond the stretches of furry, like even into my graphic design stuff. Like he's so creative, he's so creative on so many fronts. Like he's insane. Uh, Jinx and Boots, I think, on Twitter. Uh,
Oh yeah, I've seen them.
yeah,
They're kind of cool.
they're good. Let's see, High. Uh, I I think you might have interviewed him.
I did in fact
Yeah,
interview
yeah.
High.
I'm trying to think. I got so many running through my head. Man, it's kind of hard because I know I'm gonna miss people, and I'll apologize for that. But it's just so many different folks that are out here, and like you can go through my timeline and my followers, and you can see these people. Like, these people deserve these platforms and deserve to have these things. Have a lot of the things that the people who will be up in arms regarding very minimal bullshit in the fandom, but will not say a word regarding things like Black Lives Matter or anything about the protest or anything about the victims, but will sit and take in and create content towards Lil Nas X, who who said he wants a suit. They will manage to crank that out in a day, but they won't manage to say anything that's more deliberate and more or less vague than like fuck racism. Like, it's just stuff that like that. So I feel as though I, it's kind of something that I say a lot on my feed, but just ask more of your content creators. Ask more of your people that you hold in high regard in the fandom. And not to say, be antagonistic about towards them, but just it mentally, you don't have to call them out, but mentally make a note of these things. Like, if they'll speak on one thing but won't speak on another, think, why? And then keep that in mind if you choose to, keep consuming their content and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if someone's got a big following and there are small content creators doing similar things. Like, you bump up a little
Yeah,
bit. You could help out a
yeah,
little bit. Give the guy a bone. Why
yeah.
not? But yeah, that's good. Everyone needs a starting place, and those content creators that you shouted out, I'm sure they're awesome. And you heard it from him, folks. If you want to find more, you just stalk his Twitter account. You will find loads of talent at Light Skin Tiger. Anyway, was there anything else that you wanted to add before we go on?
No, we can keep going, keep it trucking.
Gotcha. Gotta ask. Let's see. Next up on the content creation, would you consider yourself a small time creator?
I'm kind of in this weird spot right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm uh I'm about at 2,800 followers on Twitter right now. Uh, it's I don't know. I guess I would still consider myself small, but I feel that that's disingenuous. uh, so
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, we can call it small, but I don't want to be I don't want to be like those people who uh had that hashtag last week with like thousands of followers and be like, hey, like, I'm small, I'm a nobody. Uh, so I if I were to call myself something, I certainly call myself mid-sized. I feel much better about that.
Mid, medium, that works fine. So, what drives you to make these designs? When did it start being a passion for you in particular? Is there a particular moment?
Not really. There wasn't a particular moment. I did kind of think it was a bit of time. It was kind of like last summer when I started to really think about that. Like, I'd been to my first Actually, no. Actually, no. I will say there was a particular moment. You know, it kind of ties back into everything. I was at FWA last year, and like I was wearing like joggers, a hoodie, you know, stuff that I would typically wear anywhere else. Uh,
Yeah.
so like somebody said like I didn't look like a furry, or it, and you know, kind of gave me those looks like I wasn't supposed to be here. So like kind of that thought process has kind of gone into a lot of the stuff that I make in terms of, you know, I think that hey, I know that there's a lot of people that are like me out there who, you know, have these thoughts, like are part of the fandom, but you know, aren't really they don't really see the stuff, or like they don't have they wouldn't wear a lot of the stuff that a lot of furries wear, uh, and like make some of the stuff that a lot of furries make. So that's something that I kind of keep in mind with everything that I do. Uh, you know, just think of not only what I would want, but also what a lot of the people uh, in you know in my position, like in a similar vein as me, would want.
Yeah, I can see designs here that really speak out to people that are into these kind of things. I mean, I like it.
Thank you.
Like the I will bite. I
Yes.
like that a
Yeah.
lot. That's cool as
Yeah.
hell.
I mean, I want to blend like street culture uh, along with the fandom, and I think that there's very much a close tie. Like there's stuff that very much can be done. It's just, you know, I feel as though it's something that not a lot of people have done because there hasn't been somebody in order to try to push that boundary. You know, just keep.
Yeah, like street graffiti, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like I mean, people already have art of people wearing like streetwear and like do it like having these things, but you know, nobody. Well, I'm not gonna say nobody because a few people have done it already. Like I'm not gonna say I'm the first,
Mm.
but yeah, I mean, you know, there's other people like me still doing this. You know, just keep on trying to, you know, find that lane. I'm still trying to find the one that's just yes, uh, yes, this is that perfect blend. But you know, it's all connected into just how I was brought up, my general cultural feelings, and trying to take that and blend that in with the fandom.
Oh, I totally get where you're coming from. Oh, and fuck that guy, by the way. What a dick.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Just because you don't have a freaking tail or ears on or whatever, everyone deserves to be in the furry space if they want
yeah,
to. And if they don't want to wear some dumbass paws or whatever, you can't make
yeah.
them. Goodness gracious. Did you have any advice for people that were on the brink of jumping in to starting their content creation careers,
Uh,
but need that push to get started?
yes. Do not be afraid to reach out. It, I know that the fear of, you know, rejection, like being ignored, is something that prevails. Like, trust me, I've had it and still have it. But you know, don't be afraid to reach out. Like, if you see something you like or see somebody that you can see yourself in, don't be afraid to reach out to them. You know, I don't do the creepy like hi message. You know, like sit down, write something together, you know, something that's going to be like, hey, you know, I saw your work, I really appreciate it, do you have any tips on like how to get started, or you know, uh hey, you know, I see a lot of myself in you, I feel as though you represent me, can you give me some pointers as to, you know, how to navigate this. Like that's how I did with a lot of people early in the fandom, and in my graphic design careers. So you know, like connections, incredibly important. Don't be afraid to reach out. Uh, just like it, you might and probably will be ignored, but that's fine. Like just understand that's fine. That happens to everybody. It, I know it hurts. Trust me, I know it hurts, but you know it's gonna be worth it in the end. And for like anybody who does want to actually create content and stuff, I will say, particularly for what I do with graphic design, YouTube is my best friend. YouTube, the internet, there's tutorials for everything. Like if you want to learn anything specific, you can just look it up on YouTube. Somebody's probably already done it. And it's a shame that I didn't really know about that until a few years ago. It's just, you know, don't be afraid to ask, and also, don't be afraid to ask for help from other people who you see doing the stuff, and that kind of ties into the first one. But use the internet, use Google, use YouTube. These things are your friend. Do not shy away from what is at your fingertips. You have the world at your fingertips. You can learn how to do just about anything.
Exactly. Don't be intimidated by follower counts.
Yes.
That's made up.
Yes.
Superfluous.
Yes.
Does not matter.
Yeah, everybody is a person at the end of the day. There's a person behind that account. There's a person behind that fursuit. There's a person behind that icon. We're all people. Like, like simply put, even in especially in the grand scheme of things, this is entirely insignificant. We're all people. Some people have the big head. I know that, but especially for myself, we're all people at the end of the day.
Exactly, and everybody and anybody can be reached. All you need to do is send that first message. Don't just say hi, like he said. You just need to lay out, hey, here's what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. You're totally cool. And I did something similar whenever I write an article. Like, I will reach out to people with 40K followers or whatever, and surprisingly, most of them actually do respond.
Yeah.
So, first-hand accounts, just get out there and do your best. You will be surprised at who will respond to you, and maybe not so surprised at who will.
Yeah.
Go for people that are always interacting with their followers, making lots of tweets, etc., etc. And the internet is your resource. Thank you for that one, Gozi. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, we can keep it pushing.
Gotcha. By the way, really quickly, I've actually linked some sources for BIPOC furries in the community to go to. There's a Discord chat, BLM Resources Telegram chat, and a card packed full of donation links, education links, and more. Just click on the show notes or the links below the player. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or somewhere else, just head to reinerwrites.com and click on any of the interviews posted up there. They're updated with the latest links, usually. Sometimes I get lazy. And if you're on Telegram, you can join my channel at Reiner Writes or join the BIPOC Furry Telegram chat at Furs of Color. All right, that's all I wanted to say. So on being black, how do you feel being black has impacted your life in the past 3 months? Because if we go lifetime, this might be a lot longer. Positive or negative, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, like with the protests and stuff that have been happening, I really have started to see more and more. I've seen a ton of support, which has been insane to see. But also, I've seen the true colors of a few people. That does kind of hurt, unfortunately. But it's kind of something that I've kind of grown used to. Being black. Eventually, to a point, and it kind of sucks to say, but like eventually to a point, you do just kind of get numb. Just numb of everything going on. Thanks. But it's an experience that I love seeing how black culture has been highlighted so much over the last little bit, and having the opportunity to do things like this and to speak out. It's something that I really do enjoy, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that the past 3 months have been fantastic, because I not only on top of protests, we also have COVID-19 that's been negatively affecting black people, and I mean obviously and other people of color. harder than everybody else. And that also ties into the whole racial inequality issues. So things have obviously had its downsides for sure, and there are times where you don't really feel as though you're actually being. There are times where you do feel as though you might be being used as a prop, so to say, so that other people can feel better about themselves and only elevate their social status. But it's been cool to see. It's been cool to see people to see genuine support from people.
People are using BLM for clout?
Some people have decided, and I'll tie this into the fandom and in general. A lot of people online have decided that, hey, Black Lives Matter is something that a lot of people agree with. I will use that in order to boost my status amongst my peers to make myself look good. But then, like, they may have a history of things that go against Black Lives Matter, and when they're called out on it or anything talks about it, they'll maybe shy away from that, and then maybe not. It's been over a month now. They might be back on what they normally do, and about that, a lot of people have been reaching out to Mandy who have had checkered pasts, so to say. They reached out to her regarding these issues. Like a very big YouTuber. Once again, not gonna name names, but a very big YouTuber reached out to her yesterday, and like saying like, "Hey, do you want to collab?" And like, not only does that seem as though like it makes it like I'll use her words herself. Like it made her feel as though as it's as an accessory, but also like it's July. It's July. This stuff happened late May. Like George Floyd got killed Memorial Day, and it's taking you until now to decide, hey, maybe I want to make a video with a Black person. Like it's just stuff like that. There's been a ton of genuine support, 100%. But there's been a few people who have decided to use the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests, for clout, so to say.
They think it's hip and trendy to do these things when it's Black people literally begging for the systems that are oppressing them not to kill them. Or maybe not to kill them as much. Just these little things that we really and are maybe
really
just a little bit important.
just simple things like the ability to live.
Can't believe this shit. On top of people turning the Breonna Taylor thing into like a meme, and making George Floyd into like a fashion question mark.
Yeah,
I don't know. I understand the old Black women that would come to the casino with their Michelle Obama purses and jackets and shirts and stuff. Like, that's cute and everything, but I don't think you should be merchandising a man that the entire world has seen die in a terrible way. It's a little messed up.
Yeah.
I remember. You mentioned going numb, and I'll admit I also went numb. Back when Ferguson happened, most of my friends were white, and they didn't understand what was going on. So I was just like, okay, I guess everything going on in Ferguson is just some fuck shit, and I shouldn't really be paying too much attention to it. Okay. And then YouTubers on that were, on the philosophy sketch skeptic. Yeah, they're called skeptics. I used to watch them back then. Freaking Sargon of Akkad or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I can't believe I ever listened to that fucking cucklord. What the hell is wrong with me? So I thought that Black Lives Matter was some fucking terrorist organization. No joke. Really did. For like 4 years or something up until this point. And it took George Floyd and the protests and mainly Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland's deaths. Those hit me the hardest when I was reading through them and everything. I live in Evansville, which is about an hour, 2 hours from Louisville.
Yeah.
So Learning that a black
Yeah,
woman got shot
Indiana.
in her sleep scared the shit out of me. Shit
Yeah,
out of me.
yeah.
That could
And I mean,
happen
I'll
this
say,
close.
yeah, I'll say two things. Like one, it trust me. I know people listening are gonna be like, "Oh, I said some," well, not said, but I might have thought some bad things in the past. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to you know to be wrong as long as you're willing to make it right now. It's okay to be wrong in the past if you're willing to make this right now. And two, the thing about it is that there's a ton of cases that we just don't even know about. Like how many of these cases have occurred and stuff that they're just not enough media coverage and not enough outrage. But these same things have been happening and have been happening for a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. On top of all the ones that they freaking purposefully cover up, like Elijah McClain's freaking
Yeah.
death. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
it's so frustrating. Like you get to this point where you just whittle down, and there's like nothing left, but you still have to keep pushing. We're all pushing right now
Yeah.
in our own ways. From the inside, from the outside, all directions, everywhere. Black Lives Matter, god damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. And I guess now is a good time to go ahead and ask you, when you say the words that you're black, I'm black,
Yeah.
where does that
Yeah.
come from to you?
Well, I mean, like, it comes from not only, ancestral, uh, it not only comes from ancestral, roots and stuff like that, but as well as, just like my lifestyle and my my upbringing. Obviously, I've had descendants of slaves and all that. Like the furthest I can trace back my roots is Rock Hill, South Carolina. I don't know where my people came from in Africa. I the furthest I know is just Rock Hill, South Carolina, and that's something that has really impacted me. And so like having to live my life as a black man, it obviously has its downside, but the thing that I enjoy so much about being black is the ability to take the downsides and make them in the upsides and overcoming despite of what's happening. So like what I mean by being black, I just don't mean I listen to rap and like I wear the stuff that I wear and like I wear my hair in braids. Like it's something that I really do take pride in because of the history, because of not only the people before me, but the people who I know are going to come afterwards.
That was a pretty dope answer, not gonna lie.
Thank you.
You mentioned how you come from South Carolina.
Well, so my family currently lives in North Carolina. I was born in North Carolina, but like
Okay, south,
the furthest
north.
I can trace back my ancestry is South Carolina.
I got you. So it's not like these other families that can go like further back.
Yeah, like I know people who can go into like medieval times. Like they can say like
Holy
what they
shit.
like what their last name means, what all this means. Like all I can say is like, hey, my ancestors were brought here. They went to like I I don't even know if they got to America into South Carolina. Like I just know that South Carolina was the last record that I showed, and honestly, I feel lucky enough that I know that far back.
Yeah, that sadly kind of true. Like some people can't even say that because of how fucked their lineage became.
Yeah,
Man, crazy shit. Well, I guess I got one last question for you. Are you ready for it?
I'm buckled in, strapped in, ready to go.
All right, awesome. So, in regards to what's going on right now with BLM, what
Yes.
concerns do you have for the future?
Uh, it's kind of two concerns. One is a bit of things being so diluted to a point in which I'm not gonna say diluted in terms of each aspect uh of like that racism impacts is affected by this. I'm saying that you know we things just become accepted like like meaningless changes that don't even have to be made. Like I think I remember like realtors in Texas were gonna like stop calling the bedroom like the master bedroom. Like that wasn't a concern. But like we want things that do include actual change, like changes in law enforcement, changes in legislation, changes in the justice system. These like those things actually matter. So I am kind of concerned that people who are actually in power are only going to have those meaningless changes that don't matter anything. And I am a bit concerned in terms of retaliation. Uh, that people who are so against it are going to actively seek these things out and then fight against it so much to the point in which you know, like like a lot of what happened in the civil rights era back in the 60s, 50s, the late 50s and 60s. So those are things that I am concerned about. But the thing about it is that I know that history will always, always, always be on the sides of things like this. Like history is always going to be on our side. There are people in the, back in the civil rights era who were fighting against these things who have children or grandchildren who are fighting for these things now, and that's something that's only going to get more and more as times change and times progress. So I'm always going to be hopeful regarding these things.
I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. All these meaningless performative changes, like
Yeah,
the syrup changing names and the master bedroom and
yeah,
the white actors, voice actors, whatever. It's just a bunch of stuff to make you feel like things are changing when they're not. What we need is police reform slash
yeah,
defunding the police to fund education, social services,
yeah.
mental health, health in general, etc.
Hmm.
We need to help people feel better, live better lives, not feel like they're a cog in the system like they are right now. Especially a
Absolutely.
system that is actively working against them at every turn.
Yeah.
Like just today I looked on Twitter as I do and I come across a video that mentions how hospitals are less likely to give a kidney to a black someone who is black on the donor list because they secrete more of I forget what it's called. It's
Oh
something
no, I
that
saw that too.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that is what they mean when it's like a systemic problem. Like it's
yeah.
not just
No,
grandma calling people negro or whatever.
it reaches into everything. But like I said, like obviously it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight. We know that. But like I said, the more that we push, the more that we fight now, the better it's going to be.
Exactly. We need to be actively working toward making things better because we care about it. It's not because we hate it.
Yeah,
We don't like dying, but
yeah. I'll say it. This is a hot take. I prefer to be alive.
yeah, right. That's a fucking hot take right there. Oh my goodness. Hey, the future is bright, and I know if we keep working toward it, we will get there eventually. Even if it takes like 100, 200, 300 years, we
Yeah,
can't
no.
stop fighting.
Isn't like thing. Hey, even if it's not for me, for my kids, my grandkids, my you know whole lineage, everybody else that comes after me, and not only my family, the kid in Minnesota, like the black kid in Minnesota, the kid in London, the kid in Australia, the kid in Tokyo. Like I want things to be better for not only me, but for other, like not only me, my family, but everybody else.
Exactly. Ah, yeah. All right. I was looking for the name of the woman whose statue got, who replaced Edward Colston's statue. Do
Oh
you know
yeah,
her name?
I didn't. I remember seeing her name, but I can't recall it off the top of my head right now, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's just things like that where it took however so long to you know to they weren't even thinking about taking down the statue of a colonizer and somebody like that, but they'll only leave a statue of a black woman up for a day. Like quick, they'll quickly take that down.
Oh wow! I thought it was there to stay.
No, they took that down after a day.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay, I was trying to, I was trying to end this on a positive note.
No, well,
Oh
hold on.
shit!
I will spin it positively for you. The things that we see and the things that we are encountering are things that the people have done. You know, a lot of times a lot of times we have left things up to powers that be. And it's not, you know, I'm not advocating for, I'm not. You can read between the lines of what I'm saying, but people have a ton of power in this country. People have a ton of power in numbers, power in whatever. So utilize these things in ways that make it, make it known, make your voice be known. Whether that's voting, and I'm saying this exclusively, voting does not solve everything. Voting helps, but does not solve everything. Things like, and once you vote, hold these people accountable, hold politicians accountable, hold everybody, even if it's not an elected official, accountable. And it obviously, change starts with all of us. Change starts with the individual. Even if you're not donating or doing these things, you can look in the mirror and say, hey, a lot of stuff that I've done in the past or whatever, it wasn't good. I'm gonna make a change. And you make that change, other people are gonna make that change. It's a chain reaction. So, if you feel as though, you're like, oh, I might not have as big of a platform, or, I don't really have the resources. There's so many ways that you can help just internally. Like, speak up, let your voice be heard, make the change, be the change you want to be. That's it.
Hell yeah, brother. Alright then, it was great chatting with you, Gozi. If you'd like to support the show, you can share this episode around, tell us what you thought, what to improve, that kind of thing. We've got a tip jar linked below, and check out our social medias at ReinerAD, my sound engineer Sean at BioGoat, and of course the guest of honor today, Gozi at Lightskin Tiger. Was there anything you want to say before we close off today?
No, I'd like to thank you for having me. This is very fun thing for me to do. Thanks to everyone who supported me all this time. Like I said, my door's open if anybody wants to talk. I mean, be respectful. But my line's open. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a lot of fun. And everybody out there, please send him a DM that says hi ...
Please.
I would really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. I'll catch you next time. See ya.